Hi, everyone. Welcome back to my channel. The other day, I posted a video called Tarot Spreads Require Action. And honestly, it was just to highlight the fact that every tarot card has an action. And if you practice assigning verbs to all of the cards and then start practicing with the movement or the action or the verb of that card in various locations, then you can forget everything that you practiced and just let your intuition take over when you're doing readings. Because the more that you build in your vocabulary with tarot, your brain will remember it and your brain will feed it to your intuition to turn it into a good story because that's what tarot is, right? Well, I ended up getting a comment that was rather harsh, but I considered it a constructive criticism on that video. And in fact, they said it was so boring that they had to speed it up, 3 times to get through it. And that tells me, hey, at least they did it and they cared enough to make a comment about it. But that's what we need. We need some critical comments sometimes just to wake us up, help us build, help us go forward. And although I had a few private notes about that that came to me, I really didn't mind it. It was actually good for me because it generated this video. And let me tell you well, part of the comment that he or she went on about was the challenge is when you get some conflicting energies or cards that have the opposite meaning of what the position in the spread represents. What if the solution card ends up being the Nine of Swords or the Ten of Swords? Or what if the problem card is the Ace of Cups? And see, I thought that was brilliant and that was really helpful to me. So thank you, whoever you were. This video, we're gonna do just that. I want to explore the conflicting energies in the Celtic cross positions because that's such a popular spread for everybody, okay? So anyway, it will offer a lot of nuances and we'll just break it down. I'm going to do the first 6 cards, the actual cross today. And then next week, I'm going to provide the staff, the last 4 cards using the same question. And then we're going to throw some random cards because I was taken to task for cherry picking cards, just kind of like what I'm doing today, because I'm trying to keep us, on topic. All right, then, let's pick a question, and I'm going to do something simple like, how does my love life look this year? Okay. All right. So let me switch cameras. Let's start with the subject. Now, it tends to be a neutral card, but it really gives us the lay of the land, doesn't it? I mean, I like the cross because it kind of gives me just that, the lay of the land on what's going on in this querent's life, where I consider the staff the more important cards, which is what takes us where the client needs to go. Okay, so let's say that the Fool reversed shows up right away as the question. Okay, so upright, it means new beginnings and openness, doesn't it? But if you reverse it, it can mean refusal to take that leap, or being ungrounded, or being unwilling to start something. I mean, it could even be just a clear or a lack of clear vision. I mean, if you look at it, they're looking backward, right? They're not looking forward. And the question is, how does my love life look this year? Which would indicate that she's really interested in moving forward. Okay, so what happens if we get the hangman in the position of the subject? All right, it's a sacrifice, right? It's a hanging in limbo. I call it the necessary pause for the cause. So it really does conflict with the idea of being an active participant in a relationship, doesn't it? I mean, it applies that your whole center state is being suspended or just unable to act on something. You might not feel like an active participant in your own story. And that's where we have to start as readers to determine, wait a minute, what's going on? What if it's the Ten of Swords? Oh, I've had that come up before as the subject, and I always tell people this is not a bad card. It just tells us that this is what spirit wants to talk about in this in regard to your love life moving forward. So it's a painful ending, right? Rock bottom, right? Just a total collapse. But to me, I mean, it's swords, right? It's mental. It's what we think. It's how we communicate what we think. So to me, it's more about the finality of the situation than the person experiencing it. But then, we have to deal with the fact that we're starting from scratch, right? Because something's just ended. Okay, so what if it's the moon in this position? So we've got illusion, right? We've got deception. We have, I don't know, hidden fears, confusion. So it directly conflicts with having a clear sense of, who you are and where your primary energy is heading. I mean, in a love context, it's like you're mired in confusion, or maybe you're just deceiving yourself in some way. Maybe you have unconscious fears that we need to bring out and try to find a way to heal. And it just makes it difficult to define the true subject of this whole darn reading. Okay, it's the subject is shrouded in mystery or doubt, so it makes it kind of hard. All right, so what if it is the Seven of Cups? Okay, this depicts illusion and fantasies and just overwhelming choices, but it's definitely not a clear direction, is it? So oftentimes it's just not being grounded in reality. And it means that you are currently a person whose core energy is just diffused, right? Just there's just a lot of, I think, unrealistic options that you're looking at. So that conflicts with the idea of a clear, defined subject. And it means that maybe that they said they want to know about their love life, but maybe what they really want to know is a different question. Is this relationship I'm currently in going to work out this year? Or am I going to be breaking up this year? It could be a different question, and they're just confused about the question. So this is a time when you might want to ask them what is really the question. Try to dig down and make sure that you're approaching it from the right way. Okay, so next we have position number two, which is typically the crossing card. It could be an immediate challenge. It could be opposing forces that are coming at you. Some people think it crosses you for good or ill. And for me, I don't read reversals. So this is my shadow card, one of two. I use the seven as well. But to me, this is always an obstacle. So what if, let's use the most obvious. What if the sun is what crosses us? I mean, come on, we're talking about joyful, successful, loving, open, happy times. I mean, come on. The queer might be subconsciously sabotaging their own joy and struggling to accept genuine happiness in their love life. That might be what's holding them up. They're doing it themselves. Maybe they're just not used to, things being easy and good for them. Maybe our female queer is 30 years old and she has a mother, tapping her watch on her time, her timeline for having kids, grandkids, for the mother. So maybe the light is shining too intensely on her love life, and or maybe just the outwardly appearances of being happy, rather than you know, being in a relationship and really having a deep connection. Maybe you're just trying to show the world that you're being happy, but it's an obstacle because it's not true. So it could be a lot of those things, right? It could be just being overly optimistic or naive in your approach to love and ignoring any of the potential pitfalls, which ironically becomes the very thing that trips you up, right? Okay, so that's the sun. What if we had the world? Okay. Hey, there's a card of completion, right? It's ultimate success, really. And maybe I don't know, maybe the queer is resisting completion or finality in a relationship. Now, even if there's a positive relationship going on, maybe it's fear of losing her independence or, closing off other options to her. Maybe she gave something up, right? and stayed in this cycle and did not move on to the next cycle for the relationship. A relationship that's too perfect or too complete might feel stifling to someone too, someone who thrives on challenges and growth. And I don't know, I guess just the inability to fully embrace or acknowledge that the success and happiness that she's found in this relationship, somehow there's, I don't know, maybe some childhood trauma or something for her past that's not allowing her to enjoy and feel the completion and feel like she's where she needs to be. Huh. Okay, next up, the most obvious, right? How about the lovers as the obstacle? Wow. Deep connections, harmony. Basically it's having a significant choice in a relationship. I really see this more as commitment and duality. The challenge isn't the lack of love or connection, but it's that overwhelming choice between equally appealing romantic paths or partners. It makes it difficult to make a commitment, doesn't it? The obstacle might be the pressure to conform again, or lose one's just losing yourself in a relationship in order to achieve that harmony, or trying to make peace in the relationship rather than have a really good deep connection. Okay, so likewise, let's say the Two of Cups, maybe. Now, to me, the Lover's card is about duality and about choices and about commitment. But the Two of Cups to me is about two people. It's a significant mutual attraction, or it's a strong bond of some kind between two people. And it doesn't have to be lovers. It can be, two coworkers. It can be neighbors. It can be between two people starting a business. But it's that strong pull that brings them together. And that could be an obstacle if it leads to an unhealthy codependency, right? Or, maybe just losing your individuality or your individual identity, within that relationship. And that's becoming an obstacle for you. And despite the clear potential for connection, maybe the querent might just be afraid of intimacy altogether, what's being offered. She's pushing it away. So maybe it's her inability to move past that initial spark and build something deeper because she's so shallow, she's in love with love and that's it. And if it goes beyond that and gets stronger, then it becomes an obstacle. Okay, so finally, what about temperance? Now, temperance is about balance and harmony and you know, integration, I guess, and I call it finding middle ground. The querent might be so focused on balance and compromise that she's, losing her own voice or again, her own identities. Or maybe she's setting poor boundaries because that can lead to an imbalance, despite, the card's typical meanings. It could be a reluctance to commit or take a definitive stance in her love life, always seeking the middle ground to the point of indecision. So there's a lot of things that can go into this one. So next we have position number 3, which is the foundation. And for me, it's what brought us here? What precipitated uh, this subject? What brought the querent here, right, in the first place? What are the underlying circumstances? What's the historical context of this? So let's look at some conflicts with that. Now, again, this could be a neutral card, but it's still, we're looking at a foundation. And when I think of foundation, I think of, a table with 4 sturdy legs, right? We're looking at stability. So, what about the moon? The moon comes up in this position. So, we're talking about illusion again, right? And deception and confusion, uncertainty. I like obscurity. But it suggests that her current love life situation is built on maybe misunderstandings or self-deception. Maybe she's just totally in denial about here, and that comes from being in denial in the relationship in the first place. Okay, so it's kind of the roots of the situation, don't you think? It's hard because it implies that the foundation is inherently unstable and it's shifting, and it's not something that's reliable, and there's the conflict. Okay, so let's look at the Seven of Swords. Here we have deception, sneakiness. I like flying under the radar, right? Acting alone on something, or maybe trying to get away with something. But here it suggests that the very basis of this romantic situation, or however we got to this point, involves a history of dishonesty or avoidance or maybe manipulation. And if nothing else, lack of transparency. So again, this is kind of like an unstable situation, and that brought us here. And so because it's unstable and moving, it's kind of hard to pinpoint, the foundation. Okay, so what if instead we had the Tower? Okay, sudden destruction, right? Upheaval, chaos, sudden changes and everything. So, it means that the very roots of the current romantic situation stem from a major, shocking breakdown or crisis of some kind. So, again, this is unstable and it's potentially painful, the origin of the event. So, rather than being a solid, growth-oriented ground, it implies that her love life is built on the aftermath of, I don't know, some significant disruption. And we need to find out what it is. And that's when you really have to dig deep and help them by asking the right questions. Now let's look at the Five of Pentacles. Okay. It represents loss, hardship. Sometimes it's just feeling abandoned or maybe feeling excluded. I always like that looking. It's kind of like put with your nose up against the window pane, looking what's going on inside and not being a participant in it. So, if this is how you got here, it's being rooted in struggle or maybe deprivation of some kind, or maybe just a sense of not having enough in that relationship. Okay. And it suggests that the basis of our subject is neediness or isolation, or at least past hurts that are, I don't know, that still define the current situation, even though they're in the past. But it's something that it's a hardship of some kind that's brought us to this point, that's brought this querent into us. So it's not stable, right? So our foundation, we need to figure out what that is. And that kind of brings up, some issues, right? All right, so let's look at the Five of Wands. Okay, conflict, minor disagreements, competition, right? It can also be internal struggle. So how you got here involves constant arguments or a competitive dynamic within that relationship. So it implies that maybe your love life has been characterized by some level of contention right through that relationship. That's why you're wondering what the year brings. Next, we take position number 4. This is the past, and it represents all the influences, the events, the energies, everything that's fading away. Okay, therefore, it no longer has any primary active force or influence in what's coming. Right, so it's going away. So let's say we have in this position, let's say we have the Fool. Now, the Fool we know represents new beginnings, right? It's taking that leap of faith. It's that fresh start. It's that new journey. But the Fool in the past position suggests that a significant new beginning or a new journey in love is something that's already fading or it's already concluded. So a chance for a new start might have been missed, or you're moving away from a period where, your heart is open. And that brings in also the Page of Cups, because that represents new emotional messages or that initial stirring in a new relationship, right? Those exciting butterflies in the stomach. It could suggest that the opportunities for that new emotional connection are just now concluding. So passing away, it's going to have to come up with something better now. All right. Finally, what about Judgment? Judgment's about an awakening, right? It's about a rebirth. It's about that call to move forward and with a renewed purpose. So it could imply that a major aha moment, some spiritual awakening or some significant life decision regarding your love life is something that's already behind you and it's no longer actively influencing your path forward. So it could suggest that, you've already had that big realization and you're moving away now from that period, a period of life altering choices in love. How sad is that? Next in line, we have position number 5. For me, this is literally what is on your mind. I'll tell you, it's a helpful card if you're a professional reader. It really does help, and it's very accurate most of the time. All right, so it's going to reflect whatever they're thinking, right? It's it's whatever it's whatever mental landscape. It's their ideas, it's their concerns and their worries. It's whatever is at the forefront of their awareness regarding the question. So cards that would inherently suggest a lack of clear thought or a contradiction in mental focus, well, that would be something that wouldn't align, right, with the conscious direct thought that, of an obvious would be an obvious conflict, is what I'm trying to say. Okay, so what if we get the high priestess as what's on your mind? Okay. She represents intuition, yes, but she also represents secrets, right? She is the keeper of knowledge, hidden knowledge. So if this card comes up, it could create a conflict because it suggests that what's truly on her mind isn't something that she's consciously aware of, or it means she's not fully thinking about what's really there. So this tells me one of two things. Either she's playing me, okay, and she's testing me. And I'm telling you, I've had this card come up with that. Because she's not thinking about the question at all. She's hiding what she's thinking, or she just doesn't get it. And I've run into a lot of those too. Okay, so the hermit in the mind thing, right? It directly relates to our mental state, right? It's our introspection. It's how we withdraw and go deep and figure out, what we need or what we want. But in its reversed form, yeah, I'm going to do that, Mr. Commenter. I'm going to cherry pick the card and then reverse it. All right. So in the reverse form, it implies a lack of clarity in the mental state, or maybe it's a refusal to look inward. I call it mental fog, but it directly contradicts the idea of what's clearly on your mind, doesn't it? Next, we have the Nine of Swords. Anxiety, worry, mental anguish, right? That's what it means. So, what if we reversed it too? What if that came up reversed in the what is on your mind position? Okay, it can indicate a release from this anxiety, but also a denial of your worries or an inability to confront painful thoughts directly. And it conflicts because it implies that while anxieties might be present, you're pushing them away. It's not a clear expression of what you're thinking, but rather mental struggle or avoidance regarding those thoughts about love. Is that deep enough for you? Okay. How about the Four of Swords? Again, rest, recuperation, withdrawal. I look at it as mental peace, and often from taking a break from a mental struggle. It can conflict by suggesting that a lack of active mental engagement or decision making regarding your love life, well, even a deliberate avoidance of thinking about love at all, that can be a conflict. I call it mentally checked out. That rather than actively, processing your situation. Okay. So our last position is number 6, and that's the future. That is the energy that's coming into the situation. It's what's unfolding. It's what's, making us move towards something, right? So, what if we get the 10 swords? I've had that come up a lot. It signifies a painful ending, right? Again, rock bottom, ending difficult situation. How can a complete ending be something that's approaching as a new influence, right? It suggests that maybe a decisive or possibly difficult conclusion in love is on the horizon. That directly clashes with the idea of a fresh, positive, and even neutral incoming energy, doesn't it? It's the end of a cycle, not the beginning of a new phase. So it may indicate that an old relationship hasn't seen closure yet, and that needs to happen before you can move on. Same with the death card, right? Transformation, endings, necessary change. It doesn't tell us that there's something new moving forward. But if you can deal with this closing a chapter of something, then that allows you that start, right? That new start. And it easily defines that incoming influence. Anyway, it suggests that what's approaching is fundamentally an end to something, which, contradicts the forward moving nature of incoming energy. So what about the four swords? Again, rest, recuperation, it's a quiet period, but it's a time of inaction. And it suggests that what's approaching is a period of withdrawal rather than an active new experience or development. This can be problematic if the queer is hoping to progress or find new connections in love. Okay, so that's something that needs to be discussed. What about the hanged man? Okay, sacrifice, sitting in limbo, that necessary pause for the cause. Okay, so it strongly conflicts with the idea of forward momentum or, clear incoming developments in love, doesn't it? It's like, listen, your love life's going to take a pause. And maybe this is a time for you to reflect on other things in your life and, what you need to take care of. So lastly, let's look at the Eight of Cups. Okay, again, upright. This is a conscious decision to leave something that's no longer serving you or working for you, right? I mean, the cups are all lined up, right? She's done her work in advance before she took off. And now she's leaving. And look, she's moving forward. But in reverse, it's different. Sometimes it can indicate a return to a situation that was previously left behind. And maybe you need to ask that. Are you looking at going back? Is that why you want to know what's going to happen with your love life this next year? Are you looking at returning? Will this love be something that you can rekindle? Or possibly you are still in a relationship and you're reluctant to move forward in it because it's not serving your needs right now. Do you see how that can be? There are all kinds of ways that you can go with this, but again, by really looking at some of these practices, you can expand your horizons. And even if you don't remember all of it, your brain will. So technically, by doing all of these, boring, slow exercises that are too simplistic, you'd be surprised how they will stick in your brain and they will come out when needed, right? Your intuition will suck them out of your brain and have them make sense in some way. Anyway, if I'm going to do the next video again on the staff, and I will use the same question. We'll finish this reading, but then I'm going to randomly pull some cards and see where we find some conflicts. Maybe we'll find something new and different, and that should satisfy the commenter that didn't like me cherry picking cards. So I'll do it that way. In the meantime, if you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. That's how people find me, and I will see you next week. Bye.